Hey everyone, it's Andy, the young berry farmer, coming to you this time from outside the little red shed out near my field. And like I said in the previous episode, we're going to be building a high tunnel for the first time right there. And I actually want to video document the process so everyone can see how probably not to do it properly, because I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Fortunately, I have a kit. There's lots of really good videos, and you're going to watch me try and struggle along here as we put this high tunnel up. The first step, which is something that I don't even think I can mess up, is just to smooth out the ground here. This is where we had our raised beds for a little bit with our strawberries here in 2019. So in order to smooth out those ruffled edges on the ground, I'm just going to try and till really, really slow to make a nice flat till for us to start pounding our stakes in for the high tunnel. And it's going to be the first time I've ever tilled in the cold. I think it's the same as tilling in the warm. We're about to find out. Yeah, so step one, make sure you have a really nice flat earth to work with. So we just finished up tillage, and you can see how nice and flat this ground is now compared to the big frumpy mess that we would have had to deal with making the high tunnel on if we hadn't tilled. And it's about as flat as it's going to be. It's pretty perfect except for some paw tracks from somebody who already ruined everything. But yeah, with this nice flat ground, we hopefully should be able to put the stakes in the ground easily and have a nice good old high tunnel time. Alrighty, it is a couple weeks later. We had some cold weather and also some other issues that led me to coming to the other side of the field, and I'm actually going to be putting the high tunnel here instead of where I originally tilled in that first video. But as you can see, I've got this area tilled now too. And then I flagged out the perimeter of our high tunnel, which is going to be 30 feet by 96 feet. And I had to use a bunch of Pythagorean theorem while I was flagging everything out in order to make sure that everything was completely lined up with these perimeter flags, because if it's not, then assembling it is going to be an absolute pain. Another thing that I'm doing too, as you can see, is I'm laying down landscape fabric around the perimeter of where I'm going to be putting the high tunnel. And the reason for this is I anticipate that without it, I'd be having a lot of weed issues, some grass crawl up, stuff like that. So having this landscape fabric here, and will stay here for the foreseeable future with the high tunnel, is going to protect the perimeter from encroachment from weeds and make maintenance of the tunnel a whole lot easier. The next step is to go in and mark off 6-foot posts and then pound those posts into the ground. The next step in this process is going to be to get some poles into the ground. These are the poles that will be supporting the entire structure. There are a lot of methods in how to do it. This is possibly one of them. The way that you get the stakes in the ground, it really depends on a lot of factors. What tools you have at your disposal, how much of a workout you want, how much you hate yourself. That's pretty much it. Those are the three. So I actually have a post hole pounder. I'm going to get these in here. I'm going to center them all out after they're all in, and let's see how it goes. there we go. As long as you take about a 45-minute break in between each pull, you should be done in about 3 to 8 weeks. Well, they said we couldn't do it. They said we couldn't put all these posts in with one person. They said you couldn't get 40 posts in before the snows fell single-handedly. They said that a truck wouldn't work well as a windbreak. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Here we are. We are done with this step, I hope. And as you can see, I started off by marking the bottom of every single pole with some Sharpie to make sure that they were all at the same height. But then I realized, since my ground isn't completely level, measuring by the bottom probably wasn't the best idea. So I decided instead to measure by the top. I would pound in 2 poles about 30, 40 feet away from each other, and then I just attached to this string from the top from one side to the other, and I would use the string as sort of a measuring gauge to make sure that all the rest of them were at the correct height. This also made it much easier to gauge whether or not they were off to the right or to the left, so every single one needed to be directly under the string. There are some instances where it seems like maybe we're a 1/4 inch farther in than we should be. Will that actually be an issue for the next step? I guess you're just going to have to stay tuned and find out.